5 years ago, the birth of a child made me Isabel Hayes's husband. In name, at least. For all 5 of those years, she treated me and our son like we were invisible. Her coldness was absolute. 3 days ago, our child died in a car accident. She and the love of her life, Ethan, were off in the Swiss Alps, fulfilling a promise they'd made to each other when they were young. On the 3rd day after Alex died, Isabel still hadn't shown up. At the funeral home, people came and went, each face a mask of sorrow and sympathy. But I knew it was all an act. I was standing in the dining hall, pouring a glass of water, when I heard men laughing behind me. The kid's been dead for days, and his mom still hasn't come back? You don't know? Know what? His voice dropped to a whisper. Isabel went to the Alps with Ethan. There's no signal up in those mountains. The Hayes family has been calling her nonstop, but she hasn't picked up once. Maybe she's not picking up on purpose. The man speaking chuckled. Everyone knows he only married her because of that one night. If it weren't for him, she would have been with Ethan ages ago. The buzz of their voices, the weight of my grief, it was too much. I collapsed right there in the hall. Someone gave me a pill, and I woke up to a cacophony of noise. My head was splitting. I rolled over and buried my face in the pillow, trying to escape it all. A damp, salty smell filled my nostrils. It was my own tears, soaking the fabric. I'd cried enough to drench a pillow, and still Isabel wasn't back. The chatter died down as a set of light footsteps approached. I thought I heard someone say, "Isabel, you're finally back." Isabel? No way. She was in the Alps with Ethan. Why would she come back? Even if she wanted to, would he let her? He had deliberately booked their flight for Alex's birthday. That night, Alex had sat with his head down, watching the candles on his cake burn almost to nothing, the flickering light illuminating the disappointment on his small, round face. He loved sweets more than anything, but he didn't take a single bite. In his small, soft voice, he just kept asking, "Daddy, when is Mommy coming home?" He didn't cry or throw a tantrum. He was always so understanding, even from a young age. He knew his mother didn't love him, and she loved his father even less. For 5 years, Alex's only wish was for his mother to celebrate one birthday with him. He died without it ever coming true. The chair next to me scraped against the floor as someone sat down. That scent. It belonged to the person who had shared my bed for 5 years. Whenever she was near, I could feel it, her scent, her movements, even just the shift of her gaze. I used to long for her to be close to me. But now, after everything, I couldn't even bring myself to look at her. Isabel sat down. "Sorry," she said, her voice flat. "Sorry again." When she was leaving for the Alps with Ethan, I had stood in her way, grabbing her sleeve and begging, "Can you go tomorrow? It's Alex's 5th birthday. He wants his mommy to be here." After all our years of marriage, I knew I had no right to ask anything of her. This was never the marriage she wanted. But when it came to Alex, I always had to try. Unsurprisingly, she pulled her hand away. Her face was a mask. "Sorry. Ethan's waiting for me." But her child was waiting for her, too. This time, though, Alex was truly angry. He wouldn't be waiting for her anymore. A chill ran through me, and I curled into a ball, burying my head deeper. Isabel sat beside me. She knew I was awake. She was a sharp, suspicious person who had monitored my every move for years. Partly because she was afraid I'd try to trap her again, and partly because she was terrified I might hurt the man she loved. "You're awake?" There was no sadness in Isabel's voice, only urgency. "Everyone downstairs has left. Get up and eat something." How could she be so calm? As if the one who died wasn't her child. But of course, in all these years, she never saw Alex as her child, just as she never saw me as her husband. If it weren't for my father's scheming, I never would have ended up in her bed, let alone become her husband. Isabel hated me, and she hated my father. She once called us the farmer and the snake. Thinking of Alex brought a fresh wave of grief. I pressed my face into the damp pillow, my voice hoarse and muffled as I choked out the words. "Did you go see Alex?" "Yes." "Good." I fought to control my sobs. "You can go now." Her voice was as cool and clear as ever, utterly detached. I didn't get any calls. The reception was gone once we got into the mountains. Really? Really? Was that for emphasis or to absolve herself? Whatever it was, I didn't care anymore. Okay, please leave. Isabel didn't move, clearly annoyed by my attitude. Leo, how old was he? How could you let him go out by himself? I'm his mother. I think you owe me an explanation. An explanation? Ah, a soft, bitter laugh escaped my lips. I slowly pushed myself into a sitting position. I must have looked like a wreck, tear tracks staining my cheeks, lines etched into my skin from the pillow, my eyes sunken and lifeless in a face as pale as a sheet. I probably looked like a skeleton. And then there was Isabel, sitting perfectly upright in a chic, tailored suit, not a hair out of place. Her beautiful face was as cold and sharp as ice. No grief, no tears. She was the detective interrogating a suspect. And I, the father, was the criminal. What are you laughing at? Isabel asked, her brow furrowed. I'm laughing at you. I leaned back against the headboard, feeling as fragile as paper, ready to tear at any moment, but my edges were still sharp. Do you know where Alex was going when he went out? Isabel watched me, waiting. He was going to find you. He called you so many times, but you never picked up. He said, maybe mommy's lost and can't find her way home. He wanted to go look for you. Isabel hesitated for a second. You didn't stop him? I could trick him once or twice, but he was worried about his mother. Suddenly, I felt pathetic and ridiculous. Why was I even explaining this to her? I stopped and took a deep breath. It was my fault. Those 4 words hung in the cold air, stirring up a storm. A new layer of scrutiny entered Isabel's gaze. I met her eyes and said, word by word, my mistake was falling for you when you were so out of my league. My mistake was getting tangled up and marrying you and having Alex. My mistake was bringing him into this world to be neglected and then failing to protect him. Under Isabel's intensely pressuring stare, I managed to smile. But my biggest mistake was holding on to the fantasy that we could ever go back to how things used to be. Isabel's expression went blank. For a moment, she was speechless. The slap came out of nowhere. Neither of us had time to react. The man stormed in from the doorway, his voice thick with tears and rage. After he hit me, he grabbed me by the shoulders. You couldn't even watch one child. What kind of father are you? It was Isabel's uncle. He was arrogant, condescending, and had never liked me or Alex. He'd pushed Alex before, fed him rotten fruit, and whispered in his ear that his mother hated him. This whole dramatic display of grief was just a show for Isabel. I sat there numbly as he hit me again and again, blood trickling from the corner of my mouth. And Isabel, my wife, just watched, completely unfazed. Her eyes were filled with indifference. Through it all, now and in the past, whenever Alex and I needed help the most, she never once lifted a finger. Through the storm of his curses, my eyes met Isabel's cold, dark gaze. There was a time when I could scrape my knee and she'd fuss over me, her brow furrowed, asking again and again if it hurt. How times had changed. Now I could be beaten right in front of her, and she could watch without a flicker of emotion. All these years, my feelings for Isabel had journeyed from a teenager's first crush to a cautious, obsessive love in the face of her hot and cold treatment. It all culminated in a scheme that forced her to marry me. I used to love her, hope for her, and feel guilty toward her. Now, the string that had been pulled taut for days finally snapped. I shot up, grabbed the uncle's arm, and slapped him right back. He froze, stunned, one hand cupping his cheek, his eyes wide with disbelief. In this family, besides Isabel, I hadn't wronged anyone. And Alex certainly hadn't. I owed him that slap. On the day we went to the cemetery, the bruises on my face hadn't faded. My left cheek was still swollen and red. If Isabel hadn't pulled my uncle and me apart that day, it probably would have been worse. But the person she pushed away was me. Sitting in the car, a cold front seemed to attack from all sides, but I didn't feel it. I just stared blankly out the window. Isabel was sitting next to me, taking a call. It was Ethan. On the day her son was being buried, she just had to take a call from another man. Her voice was its usual lazy drawl, but it held a special patience for Ethan. Yes, I'll be busy for a few more days. You go back first. Him? I was half turned away, but I felt Isabel's gaze on me. She held out the phone. Ethan wants to talk to you. The old me would have thrown the phone out the window, but without Alex, what was the point of any of that? To Isabel's surprise, I smiled, took the phone, and held it to my ear. Her warmth still lingered on the screen. I used to crave everything about her scent, her voice, her touch. I wanted to be close to all of it. Now, just the faint trace of it made me sick. Ethan's smooth, magnetic voice came through the receiver, as confident and amused as ever. Leo, you doing okay? I didn't say anything. The pressure from the woman beside me was suffocating. Felt like if I said one harsh word to Ethan, she'd throw me out of the car. It wasn't like she hadn't done it before. One snowy winter night, I had called Ethan in front of her, warning him to stop trying to destroy someone else's family. She flew into a rage, smashed her phone, and kicked me out. I walked for 2 hours in the blizzard that night and ran a fever for a week. She never came to see me once. It was Alex who stayed by my bedside, his tiny hand on my forehead, calling Daddy over and over. I survived for Alex. If I were gone, how would that child make it in the Hayes family? But now he was gone, and I felt the life being drained out of me, bit by bit. I had lost the will to live. On the phone, Ethan repeated his question. Leo, you've lost your kid. You doing okay? His voice was low and deep, so Isabel couldn't hear. You must not be. You've lost your bargaining chip. Alex, he was my bargaining chip to marry Isabel. Without him, what was the point of me staying with the Hayes family? I never wanted to be here in the first place. My throat was dry and sore. Then I'll give her back to you. Ethan was stunned. What? I'll give her back to you. No, that was wrong. Sorry. She was always yours to begin with. The phone was snatched from my hand. Isabel hung up, her face a mask of disbelief and fury. What the hell were you saying to Ethan? What can a father who just lost his son say to his wife's lover? The warnings were gone, the curses were gone. All that was left was letting go. Letting go, so the star-crossed lovers could finally be together. I didn't have the strength to hold on to this relationship anymore. I didn't even want this life anymore. Under a light, drizzling rain, we buried Alex. The photo on his headstone was from when he was 3. We were supposed to get a family portrait that day. Alex and I got there early and waited until evening. All around us were happy, perfect families, laughing and joking, following the photographer's directions. Their joy and laughter only made us look more pathetic. I could handle Isabel's coldness, but Alex? The gloomy weather, the cold headstone, the unsmiling face in the photograph. Alex had been trying so hard to hide his disappointment that day because he didn't want to make me sad. Someone held an umbrella over me. I looked down, praying and repenting at Alex's grave, hoping that in his next life, he would have parents who loved him, that it wouldn't be like this life, filled with cold shoulders. Raindrops streaked past my vision, and a figure walked by. It looked like Isabel. I forced my heavy eyelids open and saw the shadow of her black trench coat pass by. She bent down and placed something in front of Alex's headstone. When she stood up, I saw what it was. A Lego race car set. My heart seized. Confused, I grabbed her sleeve. Afraid I would lose control in front of all our relatives. She whispered, "We can talk when we get home." "What is that?" I asked, my voice eerily calm. Isabel glanced back at it. "A birthday present for Alex. It's what he asked me for. I didn't have time to." "He asked you for it?" "We had an agreement." Startled by the look of utter despair on my face, Isabel grabbed my wrist. "What's wrong?" My legs gave out. A knife felt like it was twisting in my gut. I collapsed to my knees in front of Alex's grave. My child, on his last birthday, he had received a fake gift, but he still put on a smile. Alex must have known that I was the one who bought the watch. But because I said it was from his mom, he accepted it gladly and even said he had to thank her. He knew everything. He knew his mother had never loved him, had never even bought him a single birthday present. Only after he was gone did he get this late gift. But what was the point now? The atmosphere in the house was heavy. Isabel's mother was waiting for her, holding a rattan cane, her brow furrowed. But her tone with me was gentle. "Leo, why don't you go upstairs?" I knew what that meant. Mrs. Hayes was about to discipline Isabel again. Isabel's mother was the only person in this house who liked me, trusted me, and supported our marriage. It was all because years ago, my father had saved her life in a moment of crisis. After my father was gone, the pillar of my life collapsed. To repay their debt, the Hayes family gave my father a job as a house manager, easy work, great pay. Mrs. Hayes arranged for me and Isabel to go to the same school, telling her to look after me like a little brother. Isabel did for a while, but I, foolishly, fell in love with her. When Mrs. Hayes found out Isabel had been late to Alex's funeral, she sent everyone away to deal with her privately. The house manager ran upstairs to get me, pleading desperately, pulling at my arm. "Go say something. Please just go." Why should I? I used to love Isabel with everything I had. When she was hurt or scolded, I felt worse than she did. But that was all based on my love for her. Later, watching her run around day and night for Ethan, that love died. Guilt and self-blame consumed me. So many times I wanted to take Alex and leave. And so many times, Mrs. Hayes would look at me with her world-weary eyes and beg me to stay, for Alex's sake, for my father's dying wish. I never should have agreed. Shedding my identity as the Hayes family son-in-law, I was dressed in my plainest clothes. My suitcase was empty of my own things, it held only what belonged to Alex. Once I confirmed I wasn't taking anything that wasn't mine, I felt a weight lift from my chest. I could finally breathe. I dodged the house manager and went downstairs. Isabel had already been disciplined. She was kneeling, her palms flat on the floor, biting her lip against the pane. She looked up, and her red-rimmed eyes met mine, but I didn't look at her for more than a second. Mrs. Hayes dropped the cane and walked over to me. She was the person I respected most in this house. She gave my father and me a home, provided me with a good education. Even now, I was grateful to her. I remember the day I married into the family. Mrs. Hayes took my hand and placed it on top of Isabel's, pleading with her daughter, "Leo is a good boy. Don't be difficult and make things hard for him." It was just like the day my father and I first arrived at the Hayes mansion. She introduced me to Isabel the same way. "Leo will be your little brother from now on. You'll go to school together. You have to take good care of him." The only difference was, back then, the teenage Isabel could still smile at me. She looked after me at school, took me to the cafeteria, waited for me after classes, and would even drag me along to watch her play the piano. The crowd of boys who admired her at her recitals was a mile long, but she always insisted I be there. She was so brilliant, so talented, the center of attention wherever she went. I was painfully average. I always kept my head down when I was with her, dressed in plain clothes with a boring haircut, wearing the same school uniform until it fell apart. I was too shy to even look her in the eye when we talked. I was timid, introverted, and thoroughly unlikable. Everyone at school knew Isabel hung out with me because her mother owed my father her life. They said she was just a nice person, that she didn't mind my awkwardness and brought me everywhere with her. But the moment Ethan showed up, that balance was shattered. He became the one watching her play piano at recitals. He was the one eating with her in the cafeteria every day. I don't remember how he so quietly appeared by her side. I just remember that at first, I didn't realize anything was wrong. Then came Isabel's unexplained coldness and a comment I overheard from a classmate in the bathroom. "Leo has zero self-awareness. Isabel and Ethan are totally dating, and he's still following her around like a third wheel." Third wheel. Dating. Those words made me keep my distance from Isabel. After that, I knew my place. I started making excuses to avoid eating with her or walking to school together. Even at home, I tried not to see her. But when I showed up in the cafeteria with a female classmate, she found me. She stood by our table, looking down at me as if I were a peasant. "So, you're not eating with me because you're dating someone now?" I didn't get it. I was just trying not to be a third wheel. But later, through a cruel twist of fate, I was the one who broke up the perfect couple, Ethan and Isabel. It was time to give him his place back. Isabel, still kneeling, pushed herself to her feet. The 2 strikes had barely fazed her. As she looked at me, I looked at her mother. Mrs. Hayes, I've left everything that needs to be left in the bedroom. I'll be leaving today. Leo, moving out, getting a divorce. I told Mrs. Hayes about my plans a few days ago. She didn't agree, desperately trying to make me stay just like all those years before. But she knew that without Alex, I wouldn't stay in this cage my father had built for me. Isabel looked like an outsider, completely baffled by our conversation. Leave? Leave and go where? Her words infuriated her mother. You wicked girl. Shut your mouth. Isabel's brow furrowed, her expression a complex mix I couldn't decipher. Leo is my husband. Don't I have the right to ask where he's going? So, she did know I was her husband. It's just that this husband had never been acknowledged. Mrs. Hayes was so angry her chest hurt. She clutched it, her face pale. I went to support her, comforting her softly. Mrs. Hayes, please don't get upset. Leo, Mrs. Hayes was deeply saddened by the failure of our marriage. She knew the fault lay with Isabel, so she didn't blame me. This is my fault. I failed to raise her right, and I've let you suffer. If your father knew, he would surely blame me. Mrs. Hayes, you don't have to say that. I helped her sit down, meeting Isabel's searching gaze. Your mother's not well. You should take better care of her. Gone was the grief-stricken, choked-up man from days ago. My current calmness seemed to amplify the tragedy. As I walked past Isabel, she grabbed my wrist. Be clear. Where are you going? Why are you leaving? There is no greater sorrow than a dead heart. Isabel would never understand that. With no lingering affection for her, I didn't give her a second glance. I just yanked my hand away. 3 days after I left the Hayes mansion, I collapsed in my apartment. It was expected. Stomach cancer. I'd been diagnosed 2 months ago. Alex was still alive then, and I was actively fighting it. The day I got the diagnosis, I tried to tell Isabel. All I got was a cold stare. Her hatred for me was bone deep. I realized it far too late. My plan had been to beat the cancer and take Alex away from the Hayes family. Now, it looked like I would be the one going to find Alex. What I didn't say that day was that Alex had run out to find Isabel because I had fainted from the pain. A 5-year-old doesn't know to call an ambulance. His first thought was his mom. After all this time, I never expected that the person I'd see when I opened my eyes at the end of my life would be Cole. Cole and I were in the same class in school. His family didn't have money, but his grades were excellent. He was completely focused on his studies, the polar opposite of someone like Isabel, who was born into wealth and privilege. Back then, Isabel said he was stuck up and told me to stay away from him. I defended him once, and she accused me of taking his side against her. I knew he wanted to be a doctor, and I knew he'd succeed. I just never thought I'd be his first patient after he returned from studying abroad. He looked so impressive standing by my bed in his white coat. It only highlighted how pathetic and wretched I looked. It reminded me of when we were classmates. He would always look at me with disdain and say, "Leo, your grades are terrible. How can you sleep so soundly?" I'd always just shrug. Isabel is going to take me abroad to study. She said I don't have to work so hard. Whenever I said that, Cole's expression would become complicated. Looking back now, I finally understand what he was thinking. Relying on someone who doesn't love you always ends in misery. And here I am, living proof. But regardless, Dr. Cole saved my life. I lifted my hand, the one with the 4 in it, and flexed my stiff fingers, managing a weak smile at him. Hey, Dr. Cole must not have wanted to talk to me, because he sent a nurse to take care of me instead. My neighbors had brought me in. The medical bills weren't paid yet. The nurse asked for a family member's phone number. I grinned. No parents, no family. The nurse looked at me with pity, her touch much lighter as she removed the 4 needle. Dr. Cole said he wants to take you for some scans and another full checkup. I weakly pulled on my old jacket. I hadn't taken anything from the Hayes house. Nothing there was mine, and I was afraid Isabel would come looking for it. I really didn't want to see her ever again. The jacket was ancient and didn't offer much warmth. The cuffs were pilled and looked shabby. I pulled my hands in and stood up. No need. I just fainted from exhaustion.
I'm perfectly healthy.
At the Hayes house, no one respected me except for Mrs. Hayes. They all knew I was a freeloader who had schemed his way into Isabel's bed to become her husband. So for all those years, I never enjoyed the treatment a son-in-law should have, nor the love of a wife. In fact, I lived worse than the house manager. My mind and body had become ironclad. The nurse looked skeptical. After all, my complexion was no better than the critical patient in the next room. Of course, I was a terminal stomach cancer patient. But that was a secret. When Alex was alive, he needed me to protect him. I secretly went to countless hospitals, searching for treatment options, enduring pain that had me rolling on the floor and vomiting endlessly. I took the bill to the front desk and paid. Clutching my stomach, I stumbled out of the line. My vision was blurry and unfocused. For a moment, I thought I saw Isabel. She was wearing the coat I had bought her, held in the arms of another man. At that moment, I wished my vision would blur even more, so I wouldn't see that the scarf around Ethan's neck was the one I had hand-knitted for Isabel. After I gave it to her, I asked her about it so many times. Where was the scarf? She always just said she forgot it. Turns out she gave it to Ethan. She could have just thrown it away, but instead, she chose to humiliate me in a different way. I wasn't surprised. In fact, I felt a profound sense of calm. Maybe in that single second, Isabel had used up every last bit of my love and guilt for her. It was buried along with Alex. The dream was over. My son was dead. I had nothing. And she had a new man by her side, her wish finally granted. Standing in the bustling hospital, I remembered all the times over the years, on the anniversary of her father's death, I would wait up for her late into the night, only to see a post on Ethan's social feed. You always make my heart ache. Even the scarf I knitted stitch by stitch ended up around Ethan's neck. When I gave it to Isabel, I was so nervous, hoping for just one smile. But I got nothing. She just took it and said, "Don't waste your time on this stuff again." She wanted to tell me that no matter how hard I tried, it was useless. But I was just trying to make up for things, to be a good husband. And at that moment, the person standing beside me, tugging on my shirt and comforting me, was Alex. He said, "Don't be sad, Daddy. Mommy's just being tough." Silly child. You're never tough with the person you love. She was never tough with Ethan. Half a month after Alex died, I started living on painkillers. As my body wasted away, the pain intensified. I couldn't bear it, so I fought it with pills. After each time I threw up, I felt like an empty shell. My stomach was hollow. It got to the point where even drinking a glass of water was agony. I had to take a lot of painkillers and hug Alex's favorite teddy bear just to fall asleep. In a daze, I would always wonder if Alex was in this much pain when he died. He didn't have any painkillers. His passing must have been so difficult. It was my fault. I didn't take good care of him. My Alex. Just before I lost consciousness, I heard a knock at the door. If it weren't for the persistent pain, I might have thought it was death's toll. Seeing Dr. Cole standing there made my expression even uglier. He was never this persistent before. When I used to beg him to help me with homework, he was always indifferent and aloof. What was with him now? "Leo, you're in bad shape. You need to get to a hospital for a checkup as soon as possible." He was a doctor, a good one. He could tell how sick I was with just a glance. Cole hadn't changed much since school. He'd filled out a bit, but the arrogance in his eyes was even stronger now. Just like Isabel said, he had his pride. A proud person can't stand to be insulted. I really didn't want to make an enemy right before I died. "Dr. Cole, are you short on patients?" I tried my best to sound like a bitter, sarcastic man. "How big of a cut do you get for ordering a few more tests for me?" Cole's eye twitched. "Leo, I'll give you money. Just leave me alone." With that, I went inside, grabbed some cash, and shoved it at him. "Is this enough?" Dr. Cole left. It made sense. Who would put up with an unreasonable patient? Dying alone was the best ending for me. I swallowed my pills, drew the curtains, and was about to lie down when two figures below caught my eye. It was Cole and Isabel. How did she find me here? Shouldn't she be with Ethan right now? They were arguing. It looked like it was about to get physical. Forgetting my own discomfort, I rushed downstairs and, without thinking, stood between them. I suppressed the acidic burn in my throat and weakly looked up. What are you doing here? Isabel was the same as always, standing in the evening wind, the hem of her trench coat swaying gently. The moonlight cast a cool, distant glow on her perfect features. The way she looked at Cole was aggressive and hostile, just like in school. Then she turned to me. Leo, don't you have your own hands? Do you need someone else to help you? She wouldn't let other men get close to me, yet she could save all her tenderness for Ethan. In the past, because I loved her, I pushed so many people away. But now I just wanted to do as I pleased. I shielded Cole behind me, turned, and tugged on his sleeve, urging him to leave. He and Isabel were locked in a silent standoff, the air crackling with tension. If it weren't for my pleading, he wouldn't have left. Seeing this, another icy storm gathered on Isabel's face. She sneered, giving up the good life at home to come squat in a place like this. The good life? So, being ignored by my wife, despised by everyone, and losing my child, that was the good life in Isabel's eyes. I could understand her hating me and humiliating me after we got married. After all, I ruined her fairy tale ending with Ethan. But I was dying now. She shouldn't have come. I don't want that good life anymore. You can leave it for Ethan. I wish you two a long and happy life together with many children. I said it calmly, without a trace of hysteria or breakdown. Just like the day I left the Hayes mansion, it was as simple as saying, I won't be here for the next meal. A flicker of shock crossed Isabel's eyes. After all this time, she probably thought the divorce was just an impulse driven by grief over Alex. After all, I had threatened to leave before, but it always came to nothing. Her suspicion was understandable. Leo, are you sure about this? This was the most certain I'd ever been. It wouldn't change. Me leaving, isn't that what you've wanted all these years? A moment of silence. Isabel nodded, a mocking smile on her lips. You said it. Don't come crying to me when you regret it. Watching her walk away, I couldn't help but ask myself, do I even have a future? That night, I saw Ethan's new post on his social feed. Finally made it official. The picture was of a new ring on his finger. The cancer cells were spreading through my body. I had no idea how far they'd gone. I faced it with a smile, almost looking forward to death. After all, that would be the day I could see Alex again. I hadn't seen him in over half a month, and I missed him terribly. But it had been many days since I'd seen Isabel, and I hadn't thought of her once. In the past, I doted on her, taking care of her every need. When she traveled for work, I packed her bags, managed the house, and dealt with family and friends. When she came home drunk from a networking event, I changed her clothes and fed her hangover soup. We shared a bed, but she would stay up late, calling Ethan to tell him she was safe. I ran myself ragged for her, but the man by her side was always Ethan. When she was away on business, she wouldn't even answer my calls. The few times she did, it was Ethan who picked up. Ethan naturally became the person beside Isabel. He would tell me with a smirk, Isabel's asleep. No wonder she can't stand you. Do you do anything besides bother her? I would tell him, just take good care of her. Do you think I need you to tell me that? Do you really see yourself as her husband? If you hadn't set her up, do you really think you could have married her? At that moment, I was speechless. Without all of that, life was much simpler. To keep myself going, I went back to the hospital. Not for treatment, but just to get some medicine to last until Christmas. Alex loved Christmas. If I went to see him on that day, he would be so happy. Walking through the crowded halls, I must have looked far from healthy. Even bundled in a thick coat and scarf, my wrists were skeletal inside the empty sleeves. After getting my prescription, Dr. Cole chased me out of the hospital. I turned to look at him. He walked over, his brow furrowed, his eyes glued to my face. I pulled my scarf up, afraid he'd see through me. After all, besides the terminally ill, no one loses so much weight so quickly. It was a sick kind of thin. Leo. Cole looked like he was about to say something, but it turned into a sigh. Where are you going now? My voice was muffled by the scarf. The bus station. I'll give you a ride. For some reason, my eyes started to burn. I wanted to refuse, but Cole was already walking ahead. This road in front of the hospital was traveled by so many people every day. I wasn't the only one who was terminally ill and all alone. I remembered, before Ethan came along, Isabel would sometimes run up and snatch my soda, drinking from the same can, then lean over and kiss my cheek with a smile. Drink less cold stuff. This one's mine. But that was so long ago, I'd almost forgotten we ever had such a good memory. Everyone could see the chemistry between us. At first, Isabel didn't say anything to deny it. I found her one day, walking behind her. The setting sun stretched her shadow long across the ground. Under the sycamore trees, her eyes were full of emotion. I asked her, "Why don't you explain?" She asked back, "Explain what?" In the sweltering heat, Isabel blinked, about to say something, but the driver pulled up to take us home. When we got back, she went to her mother's study and stayed inside for a long time. After that, Isabel suddenly grew cold. She stopped taking me out to eat, let alone picking me up from school. I tried to talk to her a few times, but she would just say coldly, "Stop bothering me." I didn't know what had happened. I tried everything to please her, but it was all useless. Then Ethan appeared. She never drank my soda again, let alone kissed me. She grew more and more distant. When a friend asked her, "Aren't you with Leo? What's going on with you and Ethan?" she frowned, clearly annoyed. "I only see Leo as a brother. If it weren't for his father, he wouldn't even be that." No wonder that one time on my birthday, when I called her, her expression suddenly soured. She warned me in an icy tone, "Leo, you live here because of your father, for no other reason. Don't go around telling people lies about our relationship. Before you open your mouth, ask yourself if you're even worthy." Those cold words broke my heart. A few days later, my father also told me not to get any ideas about climbing the social ladder. We were just living under the Hayes' roof, and we had to be careful. From then on, I buried my foolish fantasies and my love for her. Just as those feelings were about to fade completely, my father put me in Isabel's bed. The rest of my life after that was spent in regret and remorse. In front of Cole, I finally let it go. Isabel and I have no relationship. It took only a few hours for those words to reach Isabel's ears. The desolate, moonlit sky hung over a dark car. Isabel stood beside it, surrounded by a chill that made her seem unreal. No relationship? "Leo, you're the one who got me pregnant." So she remembered we had a child. Cole must have told her what I said. I didn't have the energy to figure it out. I just smiled. The child's gone. So isn't it true we have no relationship anymore? Isabel was momentarily choked up. A cigarette burned down to her fingertips. Just before it seared her skin, she said, her voice full of emotion, "Leo, we can have another child." No, there was only one Alex. There would be no more. I didn't deny it. I just went along with her. "Yes, you will. You and Ethan will have many more children." All I wanted was a quiet place to live out the last few days of my life. I turned to leave, but Isabel got angry, grabbing my arm with a death grip. A ripple of emotion finally crossed her impassive face. "Did you forget? You're still my husband." Not for long. The wind rushed down my throat, bringing with it a metallic sweetness. Isabel looked at me searchingly, as if trying to tell if I was lying. A moment later, she had her answer. "Leo, your attempts to scare me are as pathetic as ever. Do you really think you can live without me?" Was I trying to scare her? No one would use their own life to scare her. Besides, with or without her, it seemed I wasn't going to live much longer. After that, as if to force me back, Isabel refused to divide our assets for the divorce. She went all out to humiliate me, even taking back the house I was living in. I was homeless, and she was marrying another man. No one gets remarried less than a month after their son's death. But Isabel did. The news that she and Ethan were getting married reached me from a dozen different mouths. I heard how joyous the occasion was, how furious it made Mrs. Hayes, how delighted the rest of the Hayes family was, and how much they were gossiping behind my back. I knew it all. But by then, I just listened to it like it was a joke. I wasn't part of the joke anymore, so why would I care? When Ethan called, I was forcing down a pill with lukewarm water. It was bitter, a bitterness that flowed through my organs and threatened to come back up. Leo, Isabel and I are getting married. The wedding is at the end of next month. Did that have anything to do with me? Whatever. I didn't waste a single word. Congratulations. Then I hung up and took another pill. How was I to know that when Ethan made that call, Isabel was right there beside him, looking downcast, not at all like a bride-to-be. She probably finally understood then. The divorce was real, and my feelings for her were really gone. Without a place to live, I felt like a stray dog. When Isabel called, she must have intended to mock me. I was holding my suitcase at the entrance to the station, watching the endless stream of people come and go. Her voice came through the phone, hazy and dreamlike. Leo, I'm giving you one last chance. Do you want to come back? Why didn't Isabel show this mercy just once when Alex was alive? It was too late. No one needed this offer anymore. I clutched Alex's little teddy bear. It still smelled faintly of him, and I could almost feel the warmth of his skin. Touching it was like touching his soul. Isabel, I'm never coming back. Never. I looked down at the teddy bear's eyes, as if I were looking into Alex's soul, and my voice trembled. I'm sorry for what I did to you in the past. I apologize. I actually planned to divorce you a couple of years ago, but Mrs. Hayes had promised my father she'd take care of me, and she wouldn't agree. That's why you and Ethan were delayed.
I'm truly sorry.
With that, I hung up the phone. Before I got on the bus, a text came in from Cole. Leo, you have terminal stomach cancer. Why aren't you getting treatment? Cole found me at the beach. This was one of Alex's wishes. I had made a list, wanting to fulfill them for him in the time I had left. Number 1. Celebrate a birthday with mommy. I had crossed that one out. Number 2. A family trip to the beach. We were divorced now, so I was the only family Alex had left. I guess you could say this wish was fulfilled. Standing on the shore, the sand was soft and damp, the waves gently lapping at my feet. The endless blue ocean was blurred by my tears. I wanted to make up for it, but the sobs only grew stronger. If only I had agreed to bring him here when he was still alive. How wonderful that would have been. At least he wouldn't have died with so many regrets. But back then, I always insisted on the whole family being there. Isabel couldn't be absent. In the end, I was the only one standing on the beach. The wind and sand made every part of my body ache. I barely made it back to the hotel. But when I reached my room, Cole was standing there like a phantom. His image blurred, but his anger was sharp. The professional demeanor of a doctor was on full display. Leo, do you realize you're killing yourself? A patient who refuses treatment and travels this far, of course I was killing myself. I didn't have time to take a painkiller before the agony overwhelmed me and I passed out. Luckily, there was a doctor beside me when I collapsed. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to fulfill Alex's third wish. Dr. Cole wanted to take me to the hospital, but at my stage, being in a hospital was just a waste of money. I didn't have much left. Cole had been paying for my medical expenses. His family wasn't well off. In school, he always wore the same white shirt, the collar and cuffs washed so many times they were faded and frayed. You could see the fuzz on the fabric in the sunlight. Unlike Isabel's wealth, his life was a struggle. Because of that, I had to pay him back. The woman I had loved for 10 years was gone. In the end, the man who saved me and paid my hospital bills was Cole. I asked him, "Why are you being so good to me?" It had been a long time since anyone had been this good to me. Cole didn't say anything. He just took a clean scarf and wrapped it around my neck. "You were good to me once." Was I? Couldn't remember at all. I guess being this sick affects your memory. Back then, you only had eyes for Isabel. Of course, you don't remember throwing a scrap of kindness to someone like me. For some reason, I heard resentment in his voice. Cole knew how to save people. He brought me medicine, looked at my sickly face, and said earnestly, "Painkillers can't save you. In your condition, you should start chemo as soon as possible." Can chemo save me? It would just make me suffer more, and I'd have to die looking grotesque. I didn't want that. I wanted to die with dignity so Alex would recognize me. I didn't want to scare him. Cole's silence was the answer. He was a doctor, but when faced with cancer, no doctor can give a 100% guarantee. I held the cup of hot water, feeling a sense of acceptance. Dr. Cole, since you're here, could you do me a favor? Cole turned his face away, but I still caught the glint of tears in the corner of his eye. If it's arranging your funeral, I'm not helping. It's not that. How could I burden someone so decent with something so grim? Could you take a picture of me and burn it for me after I die? The restaurant's patio overlooked a magnificent, sprawling view of the ocean. I stood there in clean clothes, but my fragile body couldn't stand in the wind for long. Cole took pictures of me with the sea as a backdrop. I wanted to show them to Alex, to tell him that Daddy had fulfilled his wish. I leaned against the railing, offering my first genuine smile in days. Cole did his best to take a good picture to make me look nice, but a sick person can't look nice. As I strained to lift the corners of my mouth, trying to leave behind one last good photo, someone appeared behind Cole and snatched the phone from his hand. She scrolled through the photos, each one a picture of me by the sea, taken by Cole. The peaceful moment shattered. My pictures were deleted, one by one. In the hazy light, I saw Isabel's knuckles turn white as she gripped the phone, her jaw tight. Leo, do you know how long I've been looking for you? Cole took a step forward, probably about to explain my illness. I stopped him, propping myself up. I haven't had a chance to congratulate you on your wedding. I looked past her. Mr. Thompson? I called to Ethan, who was standing behind the door. The four of us eating at the same table. The last time this happened was back in school. All these years later, Ethan hadn't changed a bit. He was still the most talkative one at the table. He put some food on my plate, completely oblivious to how absurd this whole situation was. Leo, it's only been a few days. How did you get so thin? It wasn't just that I was thin. There was no color in my lips or face. His comment made Isabel look over at me. Her expression looked like she was in pain, but that must have been my imagination. Why would she feel pain for me? Back in school, I followed her around like a puppy. After we got married, no matter how she ignored me and Alex, I still treated her as my wife. I'd wait for her until dawn, make her hangover soup, clean her up. When she was sick, I stayed up all night taking care of her. But that Leo died with Alex. He was long gone. Ethan chuckled nervously, placing his hand over Isabel's. See, Isabel? I told you Leo would be fine. Look at you, worrying for nothing. Isabel pulled her hand away. It was only then that I noticed the ring on Ethan's hand was gone. The one Isabel was wearing was our wedding ring. What was that supposed to mean? For all our years of marriage, I was the only one who wore that ring. Just like our marriage, it was always a one-man show. Now that I was done performing, now that I had quit, Isabel put the ring back on. The irony was suffocating. Leo, I remember you used to love spicy food, Ethan said, placing a piece of grilled lamb in my bowl. The strong, spicy aroma irritated my throat. Cole pushed the plate away. The past is the past. What he used to like, he might not like now. Stomach cancer. Eating spicy food was a death sentence. A flash of awkwardness and panic crossed Ethan's face. Then Isabel pushed the lamb back in front of me. Things I didn't like. She always forced me to swallow them. I doubt one bite will kill you. Will you be satisfied if I eat it? I picked up my chopsticks like a man condemned, my eyes turning red. I used to love her. Then I lived with her out of guilt. Now I had nothing left, and she wanted to push me over the edge. Without waiting for her answer, I ate the piece of meat under her stunned gaze. As I chewed and swallowed, Cole suddenly snatched the chopsticks from my hand. Leo! Why are doctors so dramatic? It wasn't poison. It wouldn't kill me. I didn't want to die yet. I just wanted to get away from Isabel. It was so strange. When we were married, I longed to see her, but she'd stay out all night. Now that we were divorced, she was always showing up. But what did I need her for anymore? A sharp pain suddenly stabbed through me. I covered my mouth, my face turning white. Cole shot to his feet, blurting out, "And you call yourself his wife? He has stomach." He cut himself off. I gripped his hand tightly. Isabel was confused. Stomach what? A stomach bug. The words had barely left my mouth when I started coughing. I covered my lips, bent over, and coughed a splash of crimson into my palm. It was just a stomach bug. Why would I be coughing up blood? After we came back from the beach, Isabel started showing up more and more frequently, and my health deteriorated just as fast. She tried to drag me to the hospital. I shook her hand off. Can you just stop bothering me? My resolve seemed to rattle her. Leo, you never told me you had stomach problems. My throat was raw. My voice was like a rusty saw cutting through old wood, tearing open the distance between us. It's just a stomach bug. You should be worrying about Ethan. You're not afraid I'll actually marry him? Isabel's hand was a vice on my wrist, her warmth seeping into me. Without Alex, what do I need the title of Hayes family son-in-law for? Right now, all I want is to wish you and him a house full of children. Isabel might have many more children in the future, but she would never have Alex again. That was her first child, a debt she could never repay. After Alex died, Isabel rarely showed her grief. But now, she stood before me, looking so tragic, and said with genuine feeling, Leo, in your heart, who's more important, the child or me? Alex is more important. I pressed my lips together, swallowing the pain and bitterness. If it weren't for Alex, our marriage wouldn't have lasted this long. In an instant, something in Isabel's eyes shattered. I pushed her away, went upstairs, locked the door, and swallowed a handful of painkillers. But before the medicine could kick in, the searing pain in my abdomen triggered a cascade of failures in my other organs. It felt like a giant hand was roaming inside my body, clawing and tearing at everything. It was torture. I rushed to the bathroom and threw up. In the toilet, I saw a splash of red blood. As I closed the window, I looked down and saw Isabel was still standing there, a statue in the wind and darkness. Exhausted, I collapsed onto the bed. I don't know how much time passed before my phone rang again. It was Isabel. She sounded drunk, slurring her words. I could only make out one sentence. Leo, I miss Alex. I hung up and, through the pain, blocked her number. I couldn't forgive myself. This illness was my punishment, and I accepted it gladly. But before I died, there were still 2 of Alex's wishes left to fulfill. Number 3, Mommy would let him have a kitten. He said all the other kids at preschool had one, and he wanted one too. But when Isabel heard, she looked disgusted. She said to our son, "Isn't raising you enough?" She didn't want another tie to me. I could understand that. But she couldn't talk to a child that way. We had a huge fight. She called me an unreasonable lunatic. I told her she didn't deserve to be a mother. She laughed coldly. You think I wanted to be a mother? The blood rushed to my head. I went over and slapped her. She pushed me onto a pile of broken glass. My palm was bleeding, but she just turned and walked away. I thought the driver had taken Alex to school that day. I didn't know he was hiding in the house. He wiped the blood from my hand, crying uncontrollably. His little face scrunched up as he tried to dry his tears. Daddy, I don't want a kitten. I don't want one anymore. Alex never asked for much. I wanted to make him happy, so I bought him one anyway. It was a little white kitten, small and soft, and it would just curl up in your arms quietly. Alex loved it. He took care of it for days and named it Fluffy. Isabel wasn't home during that time, but the day she came back, she threw Fluffy out. Alex said it was okay, but I know he was sad about it for a long time. I walked into a pet store, wanting to see the kittens for Alex. They were all different, some lazy, some playful. One of them was pawing at the glass with its little pink pads. It was all white, but it had a black patch on one ear. I recognized it almost instantly. It was Fluffy. He had gotten fatter, his cheeks filling out, making him look like a little fur ball. When we first got him, he was so tiny Alex could hold him in both hands. The day Isabel threw him out, Alex didn't say a word, but his pillow was wet the next morning. Seeing Fluffy was like seeing Alex again. I couldn't control my excitement. I started tapping on the glass, startling the store employee. He rushed over and pushed me away. I must have looked crazy, pointing at the cat and insisting it was mine. The employee probably thought I was a lunatic and tried to kick me out. I wasn't a lunatic. I was just overwhelmed. The thrill of finding something I thought was lost forever. Alex's Fluffy was back. Did that mean I could see Alex again too? But the person who came to pick up Fluffy wasn't Alex. It was Ethan. He walked in from outside, his eyes meeting mine, then glancing at the cat. "Leo, do you like Tink?" The kitten was brought out. I had watched my wife be stolen by Ethan, and now I was watching Alex's cat curl up in his arms, acting affectionately toward him. "Our Tink is such a good boy. Wanna pet him?" Tink. His name wasn't Fluffy anymore, but he was Fluffy. I remembered. I suddenly lunged for the cat, startling Ethan. He quickly backed away. "Leo, what are you doing? Have you made a habit of stealing things? That's Alex's cat, not yours." I screamed, my emotions collapsing as a sharp pain shot through my stomach. Ethan looked at me like I was a joke. "Leo, Isabel gave this cat to me. How is it yours? Isn't it enough that you held her captive for all those years? Now you want to steal a cat too?" It was Isabel. She took Alex's cat and gave it to Ethan. What right did she have? Even if she hated me, Alex was innocent. When did it start? When did Isabel start giving my things to Ethan? Probably began on her birthday. After Ethan appeared, Isabel's gaze followed him everywhere. He was brilliant and captivating, a perfect match for her. She would get sad on her birthday if she didn't get a gift from him. One day, she was sitting on the steps, staring sadly at the moon. As a teenager, her features were already exquisite. The pale moonlight on her face highlighted the emptiness in her eyes. She asked me, "Leo, do you think he forgot my birthday?" She was talking about Ethan. I hid my own disappointment and gave her the watch I'd saved up for from my part-time job. I smiled bitterly. "Maybe he's just busy. This is for you." Isabel took it without a second glance. The next day, she came to pick me up with Ethan. I saw the watch I had given her on his wrist. After that, there were many other things. The driver Mrs. Hayes assigned to me was sent to pick up Ethan. When Ethan had a competition, Isabel gave him my design drafts. And later, it was the spot to study abroad. She stood in front of me that day, completely shameless. "Leo, Ethan needs to go abroad more than you do. He's too talented to be held back." That same day, my father was diagnosed with stomach cancer and given little time to live. His dying wish was for Isabel to take me abroad with her. Ethan had stolen even his dying wish. I sat by my father's bedside and cried all night. I don't know if I was crying for the lost opportunity, for my dying father, or for Isabel's heartlessness. I wasn't a father then. I didn't know how a child's tears can be a fatal weapon. They were enough to make my quiet, unassuming father scheme against Isabel. The night before Isabel and Ethan were supposed to leave, she and I ended up in the same bed. I understood my father's intentions. He was afraid Isabel would marry Ethan, that I would have no place in the Hayes family, that I would be all alone after he was gone. If I had known there was something in that drink, I never would have drunk it. But Isabel didn't believe me. In the hotel room, she wrapped her hands around my neck, demanding to know what I thought I was doing. I told her I didn't know anything about it. She laughed, a chilling, triumphant laugh. The pressure on my throat tightened. Her words were a knife, tearing open my chest. "You're just like your father. Born vampires." Those were the last few days of my father's life. I went to him with bruises on my face. I accused him, blamed him. I asked him directly, "What is your relationship with Mrs. Hayes?" His face went pale. White vapor clouded his oxygen mask. His voice was hoarse and heavy. "Who told you that?" "Isabel." I was crying again. She said, "What the father couldn't have, the son would get instead." My father shook his head weakly. I sobbed. "Dad, what do I do now?" That was the last thing I ever said to him, the last time I ever saw him. In my dreams, I knelt at his grave and told him I was sorry. The only response was a pair of soft, warm, child-scented hands. It was Alex. But in the blink of an eye, his hands turned cold, his body stiff. I held him and wailed, screaming helplessly, "Somebody, can anyone save my child?" No one could save him. I watched him take his last breath in my arms. In my dream, the tears streamed down my face. I found out later that my father and Mrs. Hayes almost got together. But then he got sick, and he found out about my feelings for Isabel and wanted to make it happen for us. But by then, Isabel had Ethan. He took the blame for me. He was willing to be a villain just once before he died to ensure I had a comfortable future. But I let him down. I didn't keep my status as the Hayes family son-in-law, I didn't protect my own child, and I ended up with the same disease he had. Waiting is so long. It was always like this here, waiting day after day for Isabel to come home. But this time, after only half an hour, I was already exhausted. Life felt like it was slipping away. At this rate, I didn't know if I would make it to Christmas. Alex always loved Christmas. This year's Christmas present would be Fluffy. For Fluffy, I came here myself to see Isabel one more time. When she arrived, I was waiting downstairs in the old mansion, my face as white as a sheet. She walked over, frowning, her voice surprisingly gentle. "Why aren't you resting in your room? You look terrible. Is your stomach still bothering you?" It wasn't a stomach bug. It was cancer. It wasn't going to get better. I dodged the hand she reached out to touch my forehead. "No need. I came to ask you, did you give Fluffy to Ethan?" "Who's Fluffy?" She didn't even know the name of Alex's cat. She just gave it to Ethan and let him rename it Tink. I couldn't laugh, and I couldn't cry. All I could do was face it calmly. Alex's cat. It was his. Isabel's expression was complicated. She reached out and gently touched my face, the apology in her eyes undeniable. "Let's go upstairs first. We can talk about the cat another time." What other time did I have? I just want Alex's cat. My voice rose uncontrollably. As my anger flared, I felt a cough rising. I bent over, my face flushed, coughing until my vision swam. Isabel patted my back to help me catch my breath. I pushed her hand away, my expression desperate. "Don't worry, I'll call him right now." She took out her phone, then glanced at the empty coffee table and yelled, "Can't someone bring a glass of water? Is everyone dead?" It was a rare sight, her actually caring if I had water to drink. She made the call nearby. I waited for her answer. She walked back over, her tone firm. "I'll get Fluffy back for you. Can you wait for me here?" Seizing the opportunity, I brought up my other reason for being here. "Can you give me my share of the money from the divorce? I really need it right now. I had to pay Cole back. He wasn't rich and he'd spent so much on me these past few days. I had to repay him. There was nothing better than leaving this world without any debts." "Are you here to ask me for the cat or for money?" I said both. Her expression immediately became complicated. She dragged her tired body over to the nightstand, took a card from her wallet, and handed it to me. The pin is Alex's birthday. So she did remember Alex's birthday. She remembered the date, but she was never there. I took the card, but she didn't let go. "I'm giving you the money, but it's not a divorce settlement." Isabel continued, her voice solemn. "Leo, wait for me to come back. I'll go get Alex's cat. We can start over. I've redecorated Alex's room. We can celebrate his next birthday together. Okay?" But I wouldn't live to see Alex's next birthday. Why couldn't she have agreed to celebrate with him sooner? It was too late. Isabel was far too late. The wait felt like a lifetime. As the pain racked my body, I looked around the Hayes mansion and remembered the first time my father and I walked in here. Isabel was just a girl then. Later, we got married here. On our wedding night, I wore a suit and waited for something that never came. Then my father died. I cried in our marital bedroom, and she threw me out for being annoying. When I found out Isabel was pregnant, I was still lost in grief. It was discovered too late for an abortion. For months, she was filled with regret. But I refused. I raised Alex bit by bit, all by myself. I took him for his shots, gave him medicine, dressed him warmly, and lulled him to sleep. A single tear from him would break my heart, a single smile would erase all my troubles. Alex knew his mother didn't love him or me. To get a little more love for me, he would hurt himself, get sick on purpose, just so Isabel would come home to see us. But that wasn't what I wanted. All I wanted was for my Alex to be okay. I once told him gently that I didn't want him to hurt himself, that nothing was more important than him, and that lying was wrong. But Alex wouldn't listen. He was just a child. He just wanted his mommy and daddy to be together. Soon, Isabel figured it out, and that trick stopped working. Even when she heard the news of his death, she thought it was just another one of his pranks. In this house, I met Isabel, lost my father, had a child, and then lost that child. Maybe this really was the end. These memories flickered through my mind like a movie. Isabel came back in the early hours of the morning. She was holding a small, all-white cat. She touched its paw to my nose. "Leo, here's the Fluffy you wanted. I got him back for you." Was that Fluffy? I could barely see. I hesitated as I reached for the cat. I noticed its eyes were a different color. The patch on its ear was the same, and it was about the same size, but it was different. It was a gut feeling. "What's wrong?" Isabel asked. She let the cat lie in her arms and said, "Alex was so little, I always thought a pet might hurt him. Then you'd be upset, so I never agreed to let him have one." I lowered my hands. I wasn't going to take the cat. This wasn't Fluffy. Why was she trying to trick me with a fake Fluffy? If Alex knew, he would be upset with me. "Isabel, at this point, you don't need to lie to me. I had waited a lifetime in this place. In the end, I couldn't even get Alex's cat back." Isabel froze. "Lie about what? This isn't Fluffy." I was so calm, so certain. "Where is he?" She really had gone to get him from Ethan. Looking closer, I could see a faint handprint on her cheek, and her collar was wrinkled. They must have fought. She was frantic and exhausted when she returned, but she still tried to placate me with the cat. Fluffy fell from a building. It happened half an hour after Isabel called. Ethan was the one who did it, but no one could punish him. I was numb with pain and grief. "I have to go." "Where are you going?" Isabel let the cat slip from her arms, freeing her hands. She looked like she was begging, but what was she begging me for? Home. All the strength drained out of me. My vision went black and my legs gave out. As I fell, I was still mumbling 3 words. "To find Alex." But before I could find him, I passed out right in front of her. It was so loud. Who was knocking, calling my name? I fought to stay conscious, but my muddled thoughts were filled with faint, fragmented noises. A woman was screaming, smashing things. The family doctor's collar was being yanked. "He's my husband. He was sick. Why didn't you tell me?" I could see it. It was the Hayes family doctor. Standing next to him was a stone-faced Cole. He asked Isabel, "He's your husband. Did you only find out he had stomach cancer when he was about to die?" "Ms. Hayes, please calm down." The doctor tried to control the situation. "Over 2 months ago, I called you. You personally told me that Mr. Novak's affairs had nothing to do with you. So she should have known." I let out a slow breath. The oxygen mask on my face made my breathing sound like a countdown. Each breath was a struggle, precious. Isabel walked over. Before I died, I got to see that proud woman bow her head in front of me. She wanted to take my hand but was afraid of hurting me. Her hand hovered in the air. A child who had broken her favorite toy, desperately trying to fix it but not knowing where to start. After a moment, she covered her face. Faintly, I heard her sobs echo through the hospital room. So loud. "Can't you just stay away from me?" But I couldn't speak, couldn't curse. I don't know how long passed. Dr. Cole came over. My eyelids fluttered, and I saw his white-coated figure standing behind Isabel. "You'll disturb him. Get out." Isabel hissed through gritted teeth, her voice raw and hoarse. She had been crying for a long time. It was getting annoying. "You wait until someone's dying to feel regret? What were you doing before? He was your husband. In all these years, did you ever once care about him?" Cole's words were like needles. "You suspected us before you were married, and you still suspected us after. Have you ever considered that all he ever wanted was to be your husband?" I feel sorry for Leo. I didn't know he was sick. Really, I didn't know. The hospital was full of critically ill patients. They couldn't eat, surviving on pills. Coughing up blood was the least of it. The gut-wrenching pain was something they endured hundreds of times a day. How would Isabel know about any of that? She just thought I was making a fuss over Alex's death. She thought I would come back. They argued by my bedside, completely ignoring the fact that I was a dying man. Isabel gently tucked my hand under the covers, her back to Cole. Aren't you a doctor? Can you save Leo? He stopped wanting to live a long time ago. No one can save him now. At this point, Cole was telling the truth. Isabel said, "Get out." The room fell silent. My body felt unreal. My hand was lifted and pressed against Isabel's cheek. She kissed my palm, her tears falling onto my skin. "Why didn't you tell me you were sick? Because Alex was gone, you stopped fighting? Then what about me? Was your heart only filled with that child? Did you ever save any room for me?" Isabel used my limp hand to slap her own face. I was wrong. How could I be jealous of Alex? We're husband and wife. Leo, wake up and hit me. Yell at me, hit me, whatever you want. I'll take it. She was calling my name. I could hear her. I wanted to pull my hand away. I could see Alex waving at me. He was calling Daddy. He said, "Daddy, it's so dark here."
I'm scared.
I wanted to rush over and hug him, but Isabel's hand held me back. Why wouldn't she let me go even now? Stop fighting it. A needle pierced my skin. The pain made me frown, my toes curling. Felt like my very bones were aching. Medicine flowed into my body, and the pain subsided for a moment. But the pain of my life was something no drug could heal. Someone was busy by my bed. Doctors, nurses. Their anxious voices filled my ears. The vitals on the monitor were faint. On the brink of death, I thought I saw Alex again. He was sitting on a soft patch of grass, his little body lying in it. He looked up, and his soft face had 2 dimples. When he smiled, his eyebrows curved. He called me Daddy sweetly. I wanted to hug him, but someone else was calling my name. The scene distorted. Isabel's face appeared before me, calling my name. But I wanted to go with Alex. I wanted to say, "Stop. Just let me go." That was my final wish. But she didn't stop. These past few days, she had found the best doctors to save my life. But even the best medicine was useless on me. I had lost the will to live. My consciousness was following Alex in my dreams. But in reality, Isabel held on to me tightly, refusing to let me go, until the line on the monitor finally wavered. She was the one who pulled me back. She said she was my savior, that this life was hers, and that I had to cherish it. I was in the hospital for a week. For that entire week, Isabel never left my side. But I knew I couldn't hold on much longer. At the end of my life, I saw the person I least wanted to see. Christmas Eve. Ethan stood by my bed. He must have been thrilled to see me like this. He took in my miserable state, my ugliness and sickness. But what he said was, "It's karma." Then he added Isabel's karma. All these years, she played me, used me, made me fall head over heels for her, only to tell me in the end that she never loved me. She even wanted to take back the cat she gave me. Why? The voice was intermittent, each sentence dropping into the stagnant pool of my heart. So in the end, none of us got what we wanted. I forced my heavy eyelids open and saw Isabel walk in. She grabbed Ethan's arm and told him to get out. Ethan screamed, "You deserve this. Isabel, you deserve it." She did deserve it, and so did I. After Ethan left, Isabel exploded. She yelled at everyone, a helpless release of frustration. She tried to give me some water, but I wouldn't drink anything from her. A nurse had to do it. She watched from the side. When the nurse left, she tried to wipe the corner of my mouth, but I turned my head away and looked at the snow falling outside the window. I opened my mouth, a hollow movement. "It's almost Christmas, right?" Isabel said, "Yes, it's tomorrow. We can celebrate together." I had to make it to that day. I had to go see my Alex. "Leo, I'm gonna get you better." Isabel forced my hand into hers. She wanted to smooth over the needle marks, but she couldn't. I should have known sooner. "You were so thin, you looked so pale. How did I not notice you were sick?" She didn't notice, but I had told her. I did. That day I had asked, "My stomach has been hurting a lot lately. What if it's something terminal?" Isabel had just put down her chopsticks. "Then don't die here. It's bad luck." Now it really was terminal. Didn't she find it unlucky anymore? Christmas night is always bustling and bright. The Christmas tree was beautiful, green and towering in the middle of the mall, covered in ornaments. Most passers-by would stop to take pictures. The colored lights twinkled, illuminating every smiling face. I sat in the car, bundled in heavy clothes, a hat pulled down over my eyebrows, only my eyes showing. Through the window, I watched the Christmas night. It was snowing. The snowflakes were white and pure, like Alex's eyes, smiling but also sad. It was here another time that I held Alex in the car. He pointed at that same Christmas tree and said it was beautiful. I looked with him and saw Isabel and Ethan standing beneath it. They were taking a picture together. My heart tightened, and I quickly covered Alex's eyes. In the swirling snow, I thought I saw Alex sitting under the tree in a red sweater. He was touching a little bell on a branch. "Daddy, this is so pretty." It was very pretty. But Alex's smiling face was gone, replaced by Isabel's anxious one. Her arm was around my shoulders, letting me lean against her. "Leo." I was so cold. She wanted to warm me, but she forgot she was a block of ice herself. "Do you want to get out and walk?" I shook my head. Just seeing it from a distance was enough. It was like celebrating Christmas for Alex. The snow kept falling. My strength was fading. Isabel seemed to feel my body temperature dropping. She started rubbing my wrists, but they were covered in bruises from all the needles. "Leo, are you cold? Can you say something to me?" She pressed her cheek against my forehead. It was that clean, crisp scent of hers, but it felt so far away, like it was from another lifetime. For all these years, the scent she brought home was usually Ethan's cologne. Sitting in the car, she watched the snow with me, her chin brushing against my hair. The car was quiet and warm, shutting out the wind and snow. We watched together. Her voice was like fluff, drifting softly by my ear. "Leo, do you remember that year why I never explained what was going on between us? I should have told you. All these years, I had so many chances to tell you." The snow was getting heavier. Was Alex cold over there? It was okay. I would see him soon. After all, this was Alex's last wish, to be with Daddy forever. A layer of frost seemed to form on my eyelids. I closed them. Turns out hearing is the last thing to go. My soul felt like it was detaching from my body, but Isabel's words continued. "Leo, if Mom hadn't told me she was going to marry your father, if she hadn't made me treat you like a brother, this wouldn't have been our ending. Don't you think so? Leo? Leo, are you cold? Leo, wait for me. I won't wait for her. I want to be far away from her. In the next life and the one after that, I never want to see her again." The voices grew so distant. There was crying, someone calling my name. The light grew faint. In my vision, it expanded, then shrank. I'm so tired. My eyelids are so heavy. I can't lift my hands. I want to hug Alex, but all I can catch is a shadow. I keep chasing it, crying, running until I reach the end. Drenched in sweat, gasping for breath, I finally see him. He's holding a little white fluffy in his arms. "Daddy, you're here?" This time, I finally grab Alex's hand.